Hey, actually, if it's cool, I got some tunes to play up while we're waiting for everybody to come in.
Yeah, man, go for it. We can probably play for a minute or two.
Yeah, yeah. Let me play a song. It's a new song that what you call it? We commissioned for our Streamer Radio album. This is not going to be a show for Streamer Radio. Don't worry, it's actually a generic crypto song. So let me
No
play it for
worries, man.
everybody.
We're all here to sort of spread the word on our projects and also talk crypto. So hey, man, go for it.
I agree. I agree. Okay. I think you guys are gonna love this one. Oh no, let me play this. You know what this is? The anthem. We up right now. We ain't coming down. Let's go, 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 go. Pump, 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 baby. The crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say pump, pump. We can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Pump, 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 baby. Got the crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say pump, pump, pump. We can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Hey, something like you never seen. Kill it with the NFT. Rep for my community, and I got more for you to see. So pay attention. Don't want to miss. Cause you'll be saying, I missed the dip. Stay going hard. Streamy, yeah, that's my dog. We getting so much right now. I'm like, Oprah, we need to talk. When I look at the numbers, I'm like, oh my God. To be honest, I couldn't believe what I saw. Steadily, I see a rise, and I was just going crazy. I kept yelling, pump, pump, baby. Pump, pump, yeah, pump, pump, baby. Got the crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say, pump, pump, we can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Pump, 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 baby. Got the crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say, pump, pump, we can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Hey, so if you a beginner and you only getting started, all of the veterans dealing with crypto, and even if you are a novice, this be the anthem that's giving you energy. I'm trying to get you excited. Everybody is welcome to get in on all of the action is popping. Come and see it if you don't believe me. Got a shout out to my home stream. We've been at it for so many years. Yes, I know that we make it look easy. Full speed, we pushing the throttle. Celebrating with champagne bottles. Going hard, you know that we got it. Acting like we ain't seeing tomorrow. Pumping and pumping and pumping. I like what I see. It feel like a dream. Gotta applaud if you with the team. Stream and Enu, you gotta believe. Raise the floor price all day. You know I'm gonna sweep the floor, stacking up the JPEGs. Do it real big, homie. What more could you ask for? Pump, 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 baby. Got the crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say pump, pump, we can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Pump, 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 baby. Got the crypto going up, and we all going crazy. I say pump, pump, we can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up. Hey, diamond hands, you got them diamond hands. Wondering if you'll sell, you be like not a chance. Okay, diamond hands. Oh yeah, you know what's up. You steady holding out. You waiting for the pump, pump. Let's go, pump, hey, let's go, pump, pump, baby. Got the crypto going up, then we all going crazy. Pump, pump. We can't get enough. Streaming news up. Time to pump it up.
Nice. Good track. Good track.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that song. Thank you for letting me play it, dude.
No worries, bro. So I feel like there's not really a clear agenda in terms of some of the line items we talked about. So I'm thinking we can kind of keep this thing free flowing. So maybe we'll go around and we'll start off with just giving a few introductions on ourselves,
Yeah.
and what we've done in the past. So everyone listening, whether it's now or later on, can kind of understand what our backgrounds are, and then we'll sort of come back and we'll start talking about our relative expertise when it comes to this space. So maybe why don't we start with you, Zed? Give us a quick background on yourself, who you are, what you've done, and what your experience is like in the crypto space.
Absolutely, it's absolutely my pleasure. First of all, thank you for this whole initiative. I mean, I truly think that
Twitter Spaces is it's going to be like the trend moving on, not just for NFTs but for crypto coins too. So the fact that us devs, we're just coming along, we're creating this small community. By the way, we're all from the Dev Dogs, Dog Dev, sorry, on Telegram, made by Goldie. So thank you, Goldie, for making that community for us, and hopefully we keep growing it, we keep working on it, and it becomes one of those insider groups in the future. We never know. We never know. So everybody, just a small, quick introduction for me. My name is Zaid. You can call me Z. My Telegram name is Kofifi, and basically, I'm the developer of the Streamer A new project. And what's going on with that is all my background actually. I come from a creative space. In 2020, when Mr. Elon Musk decided to tweet about Doge, my friends told me that, hey, you gotta get in crypto, you gotta open up, you gotta research it, and I'm like, I'm a graphic designer, I'm an animator, I don't understand finance, I don't understand any of this, so that doesn't make sense to me. So I invested a little bit in everything, but at the end of the day, by Jan or by the beginning of Feb, I put about $100 in SHIB when it was like nothing, and I had no idea that I was investing. Sorry, and I had no idea I was investing in something that's going to be huge. So I put $100. It turned to tens of thousands by March, by April, and it just blew me away. And I just found out that working 9 to 5, creating your own marketing agency or whatever somebody in my position would have done is definitely not the way of the future. And that's what kind of motivated me to get into crypto full time. I started designing crypto. Streamer Inu may be my first project as a developer, but before I was on multiple teams, designing logos, designing banners, promotional tools. I helped a lot of some of the OG coins back then. I mean, including Floki. I mean, Floki's entire branding and logos all done by me. So I was part of. I was on that first day when they hired me to do stuff. So come 2022, I left my job completely and started Streamer New, and I've been grinding ever since.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for that introduction. I know that that transition from going from a traditional 9 to 5 job to like the Web3 space is not easy at all. So it's always nice to see innovative young people taking risks and coming into this very very fresh industry that is still growing. As you were saying earlier, everyone being on spaces right now, like we're the ones creating the future of Web3. And regardless if that's us trading altcoins or creating projects or even just doing community spaces, this is how these large industries are built over time and time again. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that and giving us your intro. I'll pass this on to Goldie now. Goldie, please, take the mic over, give us an introduction on yourself, what you've done, some story about yourself personally in the space, and what made you come into Web3.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Dog here because he is the reason we all are together. And my journey in this development world starts with randomly being active in some Telegram channels, some Discord groups where I was basically active in a lot of farming communities back in 2021 when we had a BSC, run, and then things started moving to AVAX, Polygon, and then Phantom, and everyone was hopping farms to farms and yeah, accumulating rewards, getting rich. Those were like happy bull run times. Everything was pumping. And basically, I'm a product manager uh, in real life. Been 10 years in this space, building digital products, automation mainly, and digitization in MNCs. So I came across just a conversation where a few really good. I somehow, because of being active in these Telegram channels, I got into some nice Discord channels in private chats, and where some nice influencers, legit influencers, I respect them today. They wanted to start yeah, a token, and they needed a product manager to build their to take care of the tech side. And then I just volunteered. I didn't knew it. It was all anonymous. Even today, I am not doxxed. And it's 2 years ago. I helped a very nice team. It was again in bull run, everything pumps. It went to around I think $40 million, and it was like wow, it was crazy. So then I was like passively supporting them as a tech, guy. And then another project came up which went to 200 million. Then I was like, wow. So doing this, um, I kind of understood how things happen in this space. And then we ended up launching, we said there's a lot of opportunity to educate people on how to efficiently invest in this space. And even today, I live this vision, and that's why we launched in it for the tech. Uh, it was a height of bear market, and Bitcoin was really low, Ethereum was low, and we launched it last year. Um um, in order to bring all the touch points, which an investor has to go through, like social media, which covers Twitter, Telegram, Etherscan, on-chain analytics, all these things, safety scores, everything together in one place, so people don't have to go through a lot of areas, and yeah, find everything together. So that's I won't talk about the project a lot about project, but that's my journey. And since then we are active here. And then I met this guy, a very nice guy. He's Dr. Dog. He who is the with a very nice PFP, and he proposed me, Goldie, we should make a group with developers, because in Init we were actually tracking influencers, how they are performing, and being a developer, we all know that insiders, whales, influencers, they play a very key role in marketing. And it's kind of hard to get into these insider groups where people are actually market making. So Dog and I had a chat, and we said, okay, let's build a geeky community, a pure developer community, where we have really legit nice people who want to build, who really want to build, not just farm taxes, and come together. And that's how I met Z and Fifi and X. And luckily today we are here because of that idea which Dr. Dog brought in. And it started very small. We were like, for a few months, only 10-15 people, and now it's 97 strong. So if there are any developers listening to this chat, or later listening to this recording, feel free to reach out to I or Dr. Dog or any of us who are there. And it would be beautiful to evolve this community into something um, where we help each other really bring this space forward, and help the retail also win, building true and beautiful products. So handing over to you, X. This is my story, and the story of how we came together. And today here we are to talk about the legality, and all the other important aspects we need to cover as developers when we want to form a legitimate company. So over to you, X. You can give the introduction about yourself, and we can start the conversation also.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Goldie. And you're absolutely right. Huge shout out to Dr. Crypto Dog. I think he's known me here and there for a while. I'm not sure if he met me through 9 5, but a quick introduction on myself. I actually got into to crypto back in 2017, 2016, when Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP and Tron, were the main ones that people were talking about. Like I didn't really know anything about crypto other than, like, I used to have a brick and mortar business, and some guy came to me and said, "Hey, can I leave a Bitcoin machine in one of your stores?" And I said, "Sure." Then he wanted to pay me like $400 a month in rent, and obviously that business didn't pan out. It was one of my first businesses, so I ended up buying, like, I think it was like $200 or $100 worth of Bitcoin just as a joke, just to see if I could test this out. And then obviously in 2017, if anyone was keeping track of the market, then within 10 months, my $100 turned into 1,000. And I was like, okay, well, this is crazy. And there was liquidity for me to pull it out. And that was sort of my intro into crypto. And I didn't get into altcoins until 2020 when COVID happened, because one of my main businesses sort of shut down. or came to a pause. Actually, didn't shut down because of the restrictions that we had with people flying into the country. I have a traditional property management business as well, and then I just had all this extra time. So, and one of my really good friends who's actually listening right now, Ruben, was one of the first ones to get me into the altcoin space. And he just showed me what he was doing with ETH and how he was transacting on the Ethereum chain by just aping into all these altcoins. And yeah, like during that time, it was crazy the amount of money you could make. So, from a capitalistic standpoint, I think we all got into crypto to pump our own bags. But then my entrepreneurness really came out after 4 or 5 months of trading altcoins, and I really wanted to just learn more about the industry. And one thing that I noticed in all these projects was there was very little business experience that was actually happening in the background. And I think this is because there was a lot of really young people, and I say really young because I'm in my mid 30s. I'm not in my 20s anymore. But I've been an entrepreneur for close to a decade now, and I've done multiple industries and multiple businesses, and I even used to work for one or two Fortune 500 companies in the tech space. So one thing that's really lacking in this space, what I found from a personal standpoint, was the lack of business structure and just organization and managing things like cash flow and all the boring stuff that no one really talks about, but it's really a necessary requirement to keep any company, any token, any project moving forward. So I accidentally fell into crypto just because I wanted to make some money, and then I fell in love with the space. And ever since then, I focused so much of my time going in full time into crypto. And it was in 2021 that I was consulting for a project, which was called RBI. This was when MRI was the first token to come out and actually start working with in real life people with the UFC craze. And then RBI was dealing with baseball players, and I ended up talking to so there was like a core team of founders for RBI. It was five of them. There wasn't really a main lead dev, and I just applied to help them clean up their organizational structure a little bit and make them a website. And within the first week, I just noticed that there wasn't any structure at all, and they ended up basically making me their main dev. And this was also at not the peak of the bull market, but it was kind of middle bear, last February. When I joined, the token was around 300K, and we ended up taking it to 9 million at its peak. So that was my very first intro as a dev in the space, where I got to really make the major decisions, use my business expertise, and really just help blow up a project. And during that time, I realized I'm like, okay, I need to just dedicate more and more time into this full time. And now, here we are 5, 6 years later. I've now been working in the space for 2 full years. I recently launched line 9.5 in sort of the bottom of the bear, and I wanted to really focus on one of my strengths, which is learning how to manage finances, but also setting up things like corporate structures, dealing with tax, legalities, all of things that I just learned from being an experienced entrepreneur over the last decade, running multiple businesses in supply chain, businesses in real estate, and now obviously in Web3. So when Dr. Dog reached out to me and said, "Hey, join this dev group," which was close to 2 months ago, I joined. And I just noticed that, immediately this wasn't just a fluff group. There's legitimately smart individuals who are trying to build. And I think in this space, it's very difficult to sometimes come across groups of people that genuinely want to create, because it's so difficult for us to take our eyes away from the charts, because the chart is what really signifies growth sometimes, but really the chart is just one indicator of a business, and this quickly goes back to I'm sure a lot of our projects that we're working on, that there's whether it be managing cash flow or keeping the community in check. If we're building a product that's going to eventually generate money, and act as a service, then technically speaking, regardless of how the chart is doing, we're still being successful and moving forward. 9.5 is a quick example of that, where we've done close to $70,000 worth of crypto to fiat transfers now, 60,000, sorry, and the chart isn't that healthy, but the business is active, and we're actually working on an expansion arm as well. So, when they asked me to help talk about what a legal structure would look like, what accounting and taxes look like, I said, hey, sure, let's jump on board and try to give some positive encouragement in this space, and bring together people, group of devs that legitimately want to build. So yeah, that's a bit of my background. So I guess we can start off with talking about what setting up a corporate structure looks like, and then what I'll do is I'll talk about that a little bit, and then if Goldie or Zed wants to chime in and with any questions or with their experience, we can sort of have a back and forth fireside chat type style going. And so the number one thing I wanted to quickly talk about is every project that we're running right now, technically speaking, it's in a very gray area. Because we're handling transactions in ETH and Bitcoin or AVAX or whatever you have it, technically speaking, not a single project out there is considered a registered corporation because we're all on the blockchain space. Now, if you want to move that money out from your project into a Coinbase wallet, into a Binance wallet, and then cash the bank money out into fiat, this is where things get really tricky because depending on where you are in the world, some governments can be very much more connected in terms of tracking your income. And based on my experience, regardless of where you are in the world, it doesn't start to become an issue until you start to withdraw large amounts of money. And because we're in the Web3 space right now, a lot of the money just gets floated around in the native currency the projects operate on. So, whether that's Stream or Inu collecting taxes or Init collecting taxes and paying, other influencers, other marketing people, other graphic designers, whatever have you, you're transacting in ETH, so that's completely fine. It's very difficult to track that. Now, as soon as you want to pull some of that money out, and let's say somebody wants to buy a billboard or make some t-shirts or, register your company so you can pay taxes because you had a really healthy year, the project hit a 10 million market cap, 20 million market cap, and you want to pull out a dividend or a salary to pay for your mortgage, to buy some groceries, to pay for your car. That's when things start to get really tricky because now you're dealing with the real world with fiat. And in order for this to legally happen, you first have to identify yourself in terms of where you are located around the world because not all crypto nations are crypto friendly. So not all nations are crypto friendly. Right now there's some of the major hubs such as Dubai, Singapore, and now Hong Kong is really becoming a major crypto hub because the Chinese government is pushing Hong Kong as a huge crypto financial hub for Asia because for two reasons. Hong Kong has also always been the finance capital of Asia, and B, because they had a huge lockdown over the last few years, the government is actually incentivizing and encouraging Hong Kong to transact in more crypto friendly companies, and there's a ton of venture capital money that's being raised in that specific area. So all of a sudden now, you know, uh, the China FUD, as you call it, always banning and unbanning Bitcoin, you now have a state that's going to be managed by the CCP that's going to legally allow crypto transactions to happen. And I think this has to do with the shift in economic powers. And now I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the USD, potentially being dethroned because of the China, India, Brazil, and the Saudis, the BRICS nations coming together to displace the U.S. dollar. So there's a huge change and shift happening right now. So from a legal perspective, the first thing that you have to decide is, hey, what country do I want to incorporate my project into? So to protect ourselves in case this project does eventually blow up, or when the project does blow up, you want to immediately go to a crypto-friendly nation such as a Dubai or Singapore. Canada is somewhat crypto-friendly as well, depending on where you are in depending on what province you're in. Canada is also huge on allowing for crypto regulation, and they're really encouraging people to dive more into technology industries because that's an industry that they're lacking. So what you would first need to do is set up a basic corporation there, and then you would register that corporation, whether that be a numbered corporation or you can have a name, and then you would have to then register a bank account under that corporation, and then you would have to find a broker willing to convert your crypto into fiat and then remove that fiat into your corporation bank account. I know I just mentioned a lot right there, but there's essentially 3 to 4 steps, which is find a crypto nation first that is going to be crypto friendly, incorporate a local company there, and then you would register a bank account under that corporation number, and then you would go to your crypto broker, which is a CEX, or there's private brokers such as myself who can help facilitate the funds of crypto into fiat as well. And then we would essentially wire the money into your bank account and then talk about tax strategy afterwards. So that's the bare minimum you have to do in order to legally move your funds generated from your projects into a bank account without causing any red flags. Once that's done, then you would have to figure out what the local tax strategy is for that specific nation and then understand, okay, how much money do I want to declare? How much money do I want to keep in the bank account? Because taxes are technically only realized once you have expenses that are you're constantly spending money on. So as soon as you move some money into your fiat bank account, that income then has to be declared as either business revenue or income. And then, depending on where you are in the world, as a corporation, your tax rate is much, much, much lower than an individual, because typically around the world, you pay anywhere from 30 to 50% capital gains tax. And the way capital gains tax works is, to give you a very basic example, let's say you make 100 grand in profit in crypto. In North America, there's 50% capital gains tax. You then withdraw that 100 grand into your personal bank account from investments. By the way, the capital gains does differ on different types of investment vehicles. But from what I understand, last time I checked, any sort of stock gains, options gains, cryptocurrency gains are typically 50 to 40%, sometimes 30%, depending on the state that you're in the United States. And in Canada, it's 50%. Out of that 100 grand, 50,000 is then taxed at 50% or what your annual income rate is. So for an individual person making $60,000, $70,000 annual income, your $100,000 withdrawal, 50K of that then gets put onto your $70,000, which then becomes 120K, and then you're taxed accordingly on that specific tax rate based on where you are. If you have a corporation, the tax rate's much, much lower. So if you have a corporation, the tax rate's anywhere from 13 to 29%, depending on where you are in the world. So this is why every single project, in my personal opinion, if you plan on withdrawing fiat into your bank account, you should be incorporated, because it's an automatic green check mark right there to prevent you from tax exposure immediately off the bat, instead of putting it into your personal account. Because as soon as you put it into your personal account, they're gonna just assume that you traded this money and you made it from trading, alts or the majors like a BTC ETH, and these are gains, and they'll charge you at 50%. So that's the very bare minimum in terms of what you need to do to set up a structure. I know I spoke for a while there, so I'm going to stop speaking a little bit. If anybody wants to, want me to go over something again or clarify anything or ask me a question, we can talk about that, and then I'll jump to the next topic.
So I think it's I would just give a good clear summary of what I understood here, X. So it's all about cashing out. So the step one we are talking about is the first chapter is cashing out fiat and making sure that you are paying the right taxes. So if you are a protocol who has made income and you have a choice, either you directly cash it out as an individual, but then these correct me if I'm wrong, X, then if you cash out as an individual, you are entitled to capital gains tax. And if you form a corporation in any of the crypto friendly countries, you have an account for this corporation, you have a broker via basically a centralized exchange via which you encash this tax or any protocol income, you are liable for a corporate tax, which is basically subject to the rules of this country. So I hope this is the overall summary until now, X, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, please go
yeah.
on.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Until now, it's very, very, very simple. Now coming to um, how does this corporate taxation look like? Like which countries, according to you, have been a really good choice to go for? Or maybe, Z, if you want to talk about your experience doing this for Streamer, because we know you have some experience there. Maybe do you want to pitch in and give your view on what Axe just mentioned right now?
Absolutely. Thank you, Golden. Thank you, Alex, for the incredibly valuable information. Now, I'll tell you from my experience what happened, right? So, with what you call it, with Stream Renew, when we launched, the first thing is we wanted to do an LLC regardless of whether there's taxes or not, because we believed that attaching a corporate structure to the coin, even though, just like Axel said, you can't basically create a company for there's not a direct connection in corporate licenses for coins or protocols yet. I mean, they're being created as we speak, and I'm constantly up to date with what Dubai is doing. And for the past year and a half, they've been like they've been aggressively pushing for so many of these legislations and licenses to happen. But for us, what happened is we wanted to create an LLC regardless of the taxes because we wanted to establish legitimacy. In addition to having a corporate structure that can sign the papers with real companies and real merchants, merchandises, and real influencers that are not crypto. Because at the end of the day, Streamer Inu has a 1 foot down in Web3 and 1 foot down in Web2. And a lot of the streamers that we used to contact, we used to donate to and wanted to work with, and then we wanted them to represent us and sponsor them, they used to, they're careful. So they used to ask, do you have a company? And how would this partnership work? Because in crypto, you can send a telegram or a DM to anybody on Twitter and be like, hey, bro, we need you to, sponsor this. We want you to advertise this for, let's say, 1 ETH a month, and we'll cover it. You ready? He'll just say okay, and you do the transaction. It's a done deal. In the real world, that's that's not how it is, because people are often very cautious of who they deal with, especially when it has to do with their brand, and they always request illegal paper, and you cannot have illegal paper just between a person to a person. Having a company established and having lawyers draft an actual contract to establish that is much more legitimate and much more effective. Now, when it comes to taxes, even though Dubai is still structuring that infrastructure, because when we did register the company, we has asked if we have to pay any taxes. So in Dubai, to break it down, there's two ways to open a company. You can open a company in the mainland, which means it is subjective to the rules and legislation of the Dubai government. So you're going to have to pay the Dubai taxes. They're going to have to abide by their rules. Or you can open in the free zone. So the free zones, there's multiple ones out there. We're registered in the Maidan one. And the free zones are basically, first of all, you don't need to have a physical office. You don't need to have rent. They give you a co-shared offices. They give you a PO box and an address to use for your company, and it's best suited for virtual tech companies just like this one, whether it's crypto or design, whatever, or finance, accounting, whatever it may be. So once you do that, now in the contract that you sign with the free zones, you are not required to pay any state tax for 30 years. Now, each zone has a different amount of years. Some of them have 100 years. You don't have to pay to buy anything. Now, this is generally speaking. Now, for crypto companies, even though licenses are still being written up and drafted up, Dubai has hinted and started to introduce a 9% tax on all DeFi, NFTs, coins, protocols that deal with crypto within the state of Dubai. This is separate from the actual state tax. This is completely crypto tax. Even if you're an individual, not a company, you're required to pay 9%. What was additional information to us as well is that when we opened the company, when we are officially established in April 11, I believe, of last year, um, the banks over there did not want to open an account for us, a business account, until maybe 6 months after opening. So they have that policy. We tried multiple banks, both local and international, and none of them would open until 6 months after the establishment of the company. So in that case, when we wanted to do any transaction in the real world, we, just like Axie said, we had to do it either in fiat, like actual cash, not as a bank transfer, or crypto transfers. So even though everything that I'm saying right now is still subjective to change with time, but at the current moment, when it comes to establishing a company in Dubai, you are not required to pay taxes upfront. And to actually open up a business account for your virtual company in the free zone, you need to wait a solid 6 months before you can do that. So that's what I can add to that conversation.
That was very insightful, by the way. Thank you for that. I always wanted to talk to somebody who has on the ground experience, and I'm very, very happy that you mentioned this to me because I learned a few things right there. Because I know that sometimes in Dubai, the way the structure works there is you can open up these corporations and they just collect a tax every year, and it's a percentage of revenue or it's a flat fee depending on what kind of industry that you're in. So it was very insightful to hear all that, because I know Dubai is hugely pushing crypto because it's an industry that they want to work in. And yeah, the challenges that you had with moving money around is something that a lot of people in Web3 seem to have a lot of problems with, which was also the inspiration behind me going off on my own and starting 9 to 5 and now starting more additional financial lines, because moving money around is not easy. There's so many issues, there's so many problems that devs and project founders and even just people want to take a profit have. So yeah, thank you for that. That was very, very insightful. Goldie, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I would like to take this conversation into another direction. So it's good we got a brief understanding of, okay, we need to set up companies, and maybe Dubai is one of the very crypto friendly countries. Now the question is, every day on an average we have at least 1,000 tokens launching. No one cares about legality and taxation on day
I
zero.
think it's a bit more than 1,000, Goldie. I think it's a bit more than
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah, it's heavily inflated, and yeah, I know it's even more than the fiat inflation, and soon we need a big purge. But yeah, so the question to both of you here is, what is your view? When does a protocol or a project should even think about forming a legal entity and should think about, you know, taxation and all? At what point of time you think it makes sense to even look into these kind of details?
So that's a very simple question to answer at a surface level, but it does get complicated. So the number one thing any project founder should think about is, right now we're in a bit of a Wild West scenario. So there's very little regulation, if not any. Anybody can launch a contract on a deployer, move some ETH over, move some BNB, AVAX, whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're live and you're collecting funds. I do think over the next 4 to 5 years, that people are going to start to really hammer down on this kind of stuff, and some people are saying that this could be the next or the final crazy bull run before you have regulations coming into play and people restricting how tokens are launched. Because technically speaking, this ends up becoming like a 10 trillion market cap, which it definitely will. Just to give you guys some quick background from a financial perspective, the global stock market around the world is a 100 trillion market. Crypto is 1 trillion. So we're just 1% of the entire global corporate institutional money floating around. And that's not even counting the amount of people that don't have access to financial instruments that are around the world transacting in the crypto space without even touching a stock account or a bank account. So there's a huge belief that once this thing gets fixed, which could happen in the next decade, I know it seems like a long time, but 10 years can go by really quickly, that it'll overtake the global stock market. And I do think crypto can overtake the global stock market, because you're not going to be using banks or major institutions to put your money in. So, in North America or even Dubai, I think there could be a time when when CEXs specifically start to really figure out where the money is going to, and how it's being spent. So, and this comes down to some basic business economics now too, which is, if you're running a business in any part of the world, if you're not generating typically more than $30,000, nobody really cares. And I know $30,000 might seem like a lot of money to some people listening, but in the grand scheme of things, for a business, especially in North America, especially in the West, especially in places like Dubai or Australia, anywhere developed, 30 grand is nothing. Like, they don't really care about any of that. But that's typically the legal threshold benchmark amount where you have to start declaring taxes. And so the simple answer is, if you all of a sudden sitting on like 100 ETH or 50 ETH or even 30, 40 ETH, then you might want to consider, okay, how am I going to spend this money? Am I going to be withdrawing some of this? And do I want to then register ourselves? But registration also gets a little tricky, because we're running crypto projects. We're essentially unregistered securities. And this is why I really keep track of the XRP lawsuit over the last few years, because XRP, I personally think, is going to have a huge leg up on every single other token out there because they've been in the mud for the last 4 or 5 years now, dealing with the SEC, dealing with the legalities, and they know how to deal with this issue of being a regulated or unregulated billion-dollar market cap token that has transacted in hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and they are going to have the playbook ready to go, and a lot of companies are going to adopt this playbook because, let's be real, you know, taxation is something that is very very necessary around the world. It's not something that we can run away from. And I also think it's something that's necessary because taxes are used in very positive and negative ways to really support economies and really support the growth of various countries. Especially in the West, taxes are used for a bunch of things. And then, in the East, they're starting to pick up on that more and more, especially China being a major global superpower. All major governments around the world, they need to find a way to tax these instruments. And also that does come in to adding a level of security and safety, which is going to be required if this industry is to really blow up, because a lot of people still don't want to touch crypto because it's the Wild West. And, we all take using a Uniswap browser or a DEX for granted when, 99% of of people out there on the street don't even know what Uniswap or 1inch or BSC swap or any of that kind of stuff is, right? Let alone a Coinbase or a Binance. So the best answer to that is, if you want to pull out anything more than 30 or 40 grand and you already have a job or you already have a business, and you plan on declaring your taxes, then you should definitely consider incorporating. Now, here's the other thing too. Because it's such a small amount of money, yeah, you can technically get away with not doing any of the things I just told you and just withdraw the money into your account and just roll the dice. And if you get audited, then you would be like, oh, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. You can always plead ignorance up to a certain point. Now, if somebody all of a sudden decides to pull out $500,000 or 250K, then you definitely should 1000% incorporate, do this the right way, because as soon as you start to hit a certain tier of dollar figures into your bank account, regardless of what bank you use around the world, banks are legally entitled to report those transactions to governments around the world. It's a little bit easier in the West, again, or developed nations, because there's tons of millionaires out there. There's tons of people withdrawing fiat into their money, into their bank account, and you can probably get away with it. Now, as soon as you withdraw seven figures, that's an automatic red flag. A seven-figure amount of money into your bank account is a huge red flag. And I'm speaking of this from personal experience because there was a business that I was managing. We were doing a few $1 million in revenue. And the level of service that I got was insane. Like, I remember the first time we crossed $1 million, 2 days go by, I get a call from my bank saying, hey, nice to meet you. Well, you now have a special account rep that's going to be helping you with any of your transactions. I basically had a VIP person calling me and basically telling me that whatever I needed, this was their private line. I can call them whenever I wanted. Seven figures is an amount that you cannot hide, especially with fiat organizations, because banks legally have to keep track of every single seven-figure client out there. And we're living on a planet with 7 or 8 billion people. There's not that many seven-figure people out there. I think the stat that I saw was like there was like 60 or 70 million millionaires around the world, and a lot of those are businesses and individual people. Might be that number could be double or triple, but relatively speaking, that's plenty of accounts where all the banks around the world can easily keep track of. So when you start coming to the seven figures, you 1000% need to register, or else you're just going to run into issues. And the last thing you want to do is your bank freezing your assets. The government's getting involved, figuring out that you have all this crypto that you're holding on to that's not being taxed, and they start freezing your CEX accounts. And this is another reason why a lot of people like to keep their money on the blockchain, because once it's on the blockchain, you can't really nobody can really stop it. But it's eventually going to come to a point where, like, what's the point in having all this money if you can't cash it out? Until we get to a point where you can start to buy real estate, buy cars, pay for your groceries with crypto, and we are eventually going to get there. But once we get there, then taxation is going to be applied to those metrics anyway, and more governments around the world will have to keep track of it, and also businesses. So I'm actually a huge proponent of regulation. I think regulation is
X
necessary.
X, I would cut you here. So I would like to ask all of you, both of you, about the kind of, so we have a lot of DAOs, DAOs are very common, where you basically, it's fine, we want to pay taxes, we want to be legally registered, but even today we don't know what are the uh, legal, let's say, rules and regulations which are going to pitch in. And in order to play it safe, we have these DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. So how does the legal setup, if you know, because today in the morning we had one more call, and where we were talking about setting up foundations in Panama, and under these foundations having some companies which actually launch the token. Once the token is launched, you dissolve these companies under the foundation. So there are many ways, like these DAOs are functioning. It was just a hint. So do you have any idea on how these DAOs are functioning from the legal point of view?
The simple answer is they're not. They're not functioning from a legal point of view. Unless you're talking about a DAO that is like an Arbitrum, for example. There was
Let's
a
say
lot.
Sushi, Arbitrum, all these billion-dollar
Yeah.
companies.
So all these companies are actually heavily venture backed. When the issue happened a few weeks ago, when they had that vote on how to spend and withdraw the money, and obviously the DAO said no. At the end of the day, it's not the DAO that makes the choices, because a DAO is essentially a bunch of degens like ourselves voting. But the entire organization was funded by venture capital firms, banks, who technically had the final say, and then the CEOs. So what they did was just something. What they did was something to just keep the community happy. But really, if you look at any major corporation, like the CEOs, when they make a decision on how Apple spends their money, or Microsoft, and they go to a shareholder meeting, the shareholders can technically choose to either support or deny the decision, but based on the percentage of what they own, it's really up to the board. The board has the final say. So technically speaking, these DAOs, they're not operating from a legal perspective, and that's why Arbitrum, which is heavily funded, and I'm using Arb as an example because everybody knows Arbitrum, and it's something that was talked about a few weeks ago because of what happened with the vote. Those guys are registered. Those guys are under corporation, and they can technically decide to do what they want, and they also have to listen to their board and to their VCs in terms of how the money's spent. So unless you're a billion-dollar organization that is under a corporate structure like a Arbitrum, and they've raised money externally as well. They operate totally differently from any other normal DAO that we talk about. So if there's any DAOs out there that's sitting on 20, 30 million bucks, they're not operating legally. They're just sort of in the wild west, like many of us are.
So, Fifi, any views from your side on what kind of legal entity makes sense? An LLC, or a private corporation, or a foundation, or any idea which you have? And what's your view on the DAOs which we discussed right now?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I just believe that when it comes to projects that want to do companies, and just like you said, Goldie, there's like 1,010, 2,000 freaking coins launching every single day. And if we've seen anything in this bear, is that everybody's launching for a 2-3 day play, maybe a month maximum. Nobody has a very long-term vision because nobody really wants to build a long-term vision. It's really just about the quick buck, and it's about the hype, and it's about the reputation. Those who really want to build actual technology that is going to be actually influencing Web3 and Ethereum or Arbitrum or BNB, whatever it may be, those are the teams and the founders that need to consider the legal infrastructure from the beginning. Because if they don't, it's going to bite them in the ass in the future, regardless of how strong their team and their community is. So if you're a builder out there that genuinely is, you made an incredible protocol. It doesn't matter what it may be. If it's a swap, if it's a trading platform, if it's a portfolio, if it's a wallet, whatever it may be, and you really want to push this, you want to dedicate the next year or 2 or 3 of your life just for this technology because you believe it's going to benefit the Web3 space and the Web2 space, then you need to establish a corporation. And just a tip out there, because some of my friends who have asked to open up a corporation in multiple countries. When they asked about Dubai, I don't know where the hell they got this information from, but somebody told them, or a lawyer told them, I don't know who, that it's going to cost you around $50 to $100,000 to actually open a corporation, which is complete bullshit. Take it from somebody who actually went in a law firm with 10 plus lawyers that are operating on multiple technology companies and multiple crypto and NFT projects within Dubai. It costed me, with multiple licenses, not just one license in my company, but multiple licenses, costed us $10,000, $12,000 maximum. That's with the residency, that's with the VAT, that's with everything that you need. And even delivery, like even if you want to put a residency in Dubai, you have to go, you got to stamp, you got to put the fingerprint, you got to do health insurance. Everything was paid for and done with a driver to take you around, with $12,000 maximum. So if anybody tells you it's going to be costing more, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit, and don't fall for it. But I've seen a lot of people, a lot of developers that are my friends, that just launch because it's the hype, or people want something, or they just want to ape something. So it's really not an accurate thing to say that everybody should do it, because not everybody is that serious. And the amount of legitimate builders in the space, in our Degen space specifically, is very, very, very short-handed. Because some of us really want to do something, and some of us just want to, they're not even farming the taxes. I know a few devs that just want to farm the hype. They enjoy the attention. They enjoy the spaces. They enjoy the tweets. They enjoy the influencers wanting to get in. It's entertainment for them. So that's my perspective of which projects should actually take that legitimate approach of establishing a corporation. What was the second question, Goldie?
Well, I think it was around DAOs. Like, if you have any ideas on how
DAOs.
DAOs are functioning.
Okay, so let me tell you my personal opinion about DAOs. Right, there, I'm pretty sure for a legal structure or a legal justification to come out for DAOs is going to be longer than the licenses for crypto to come out, because the DAO infrastructure is still in its infant stage. We make it seem like it's a big deal, because it really is a big deal. I believe in DAOs, because in DAOs, instead of just having a company with 10 executives, you got the CEO, the COO, the CFO, and stuff like that. They're doing the decisions on behalf of the company that has thousands of employees and probably millions of users. That's Web 2. With Web 3, you're allowing the opportunity to engage with the community and to have everybody's vote count. It's a democracy, in my opinion. But for something like that to be legitimate, or to actually have a playbook to say, that's very far down the road. As of right now, I'm pretty sure every single project out there has their own definition or their own way in establishing how the DAO should look like. But as long as the founders and the builders are respecting what the community wants and what that DAO votes for, even if it's against what they think or what they believe in, then that's a healthy ecosystem. But just like Axie said, with Arbitrum, they could have a DAO. I mean, sure, but the money's not them, and they don't control Arbitrum. They're not the shot callers. Whoever funded them is the shot caller. So the idea of a DAO is useless, because it doesn't matter what you vote. Whatever you want is not going to happen, because you're not the shot callers. The DAO is the opportunity for every single person, small or big, to become a shot caller. So for us, in our Degen space, or even the NFT space on Discord, everybody has their own opinion on the DAO. It just depends on how you as a person execute it, and with time. Right now, we are creating what the rule book is for the DAO in the future. And until we figure that out, we can't expect the legal infrastructures, or the Web 2, or countries to decide what the DAO is, because I'm pretty sure for now they are completely against it, because they want to be the shot callers. They don't want us to be the shot callers.
So, Fifi, and X, quickly. So we are already 57 minutes. So I would maybe ask a very specific question here. Although we are not experts, but we come with a lot of experience, building in this space. Um, where to find the trusted advisors who specialize in legality and taxation, who to consult, how to find them? Do you have any leads for our listeners who they can, consult and who are like trusted in your, as per your experience?
I can take this first. So this is a difficult question to answer, and I'm going to reference what happened with the Binance issue when the market was collapsing last year, and even CZ came on board. And publicly he mentioned that when everyone was asking why Binance wasn't audited by one of the big four accounting firms around the world, his question was, a lot of these guys don't even know how to audit crypto exchanges, and that's sort of where we are right now. We're in that beginning stages where not too many people understand how to receive proper legal advice with crypto because there's still a lot of unwritten rules. Um, the first advice that I would give to you is, if you find out exactly how to do a corporate structure properly, that is going to save you a ton of headaches, because at the end of the day, you can have a crypto company, but if you're carefully putting the money into a fiat bank account with the right structures, that automatically puts you in a much safer zone, because governments around the world, they just want to make sure that you're transacting and taking care of taxes properly. Another reason, from a personal standpoint, one of the reasons why I got into this more and more is because I can actually help with a lot of tax structure and corporate structure, because corporate strategy was something that I did for a very long time, and I'm still doing in my day to day, because I've raised funds, I've raised venture capital. So as time progresses, I'm constantly keeping up with the rules and regulations, primarily in North America. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert everywhere around the world, but if you're someone that has a token, and you want to get money into a U.S. bank account, a Canadian bank account, or even a European bank account, I can definitely help you make that happen with the right structure, with the right legal advice. If it gets tricky, if it's China or Australia or Russia and so forth, but anywhere in North America, I've done enough research. I've spoken to a bunch of lawyers on this stuff. I know exactly what corporations to form, how to get the money out, whether you're an individual person or a company or a project. I can definitely help you with that, but I'm constantly still learning as well. I was speaking to El Chapo from Assure DeFi, because because I did go through my KYC verification, and him and I talked very in depth in terms of how this entire regulation portion is being crafted and carefully made. And one of the things that he mentioned was also that the more projects that are KYC'd, and this goes back to what Zaid was saying, which is that there's so many devs in the space that just do it for the thrill of it, do it to just launch projects without really any ethical reasoning behind what they're doing, other than just to make some gains, and they do it for fun, and they rotate out of tokens. And there's very, very few that actually want to build. And this is something I think, in the next cycle, a lot of people are going to need help with, which is people are going to realize that, market does come down, and you need to capture your gains. So from a tax perspective, you can talk to your local tax person, you can talk to your local accountant and say, hey, I'm going to be creating some gains here from my crypto portfolio. Can you help me? And more people are getting educated. But if you want like a proper tax strategy on exactly how to carefully move your money out, you will need to talk to a tax lawyer who specializes in crypto, which there's very, very few of. You would need to talk to, someone who understands capital gains tax. Again, which are very few of, and even those guys, they don't talk to you unless you have like a certain amount of money that you want to pull out because they're expensive. So I can personally help you in the Web3 space, just because this is one of my passions and I want to keep moving forward. But if it's not for me, then definitely talk to your local tax person, talk to your local capital gains person, try to find a tax lawyer that collecting gains from stocks and options, because crypto can technically be falling under that category as well, and you can get a lot of help in that specific area by focusing on those individuals with chartered accounting degrees and so forth.
So, I would like to pitch in here. Um, so, are you saying that if there is a company, a Web2 company, and they are, let's say a hedge fund, they are basically uh, creating money, like making money, trading stocks or providing services, in the financial sector. Um, the way they are structured in their entire corporate entities, etc. If you, as a Web3 company, are at least structured in a similar way and you are paying taxes, simply when you move ETH from your, let's say, accumulated taxes or income, and you pay the taxes in the similar way like any Web2 companies paying, you are at least sorted and you are covered. Is that the overall summary what you tried to mention?
Correct, up to a certain amount. So if you're a Web 2 company and you have, so let's use Streamer Inu as an example. So, Zed's company is, and I'm sorry, Zed, if I hope I'm not butchering your name. Um,
It's cool, dude. You can just call me Z.
Z,
That's what I
perfect.
tell people.
Amazing. So if Z wants to pay one of his top streamers, and one of his top streamers like, hey man, I want some ETH. That's the easiest thing for Z to do, because then he doesn't have to deal with the headache of the taxes for the time being. Now, let's say another year or two goes by, Streamer Uno becomes the go-to token for all of streamers around the world. Now Z's got a really big problem, but also a really good problem to have, because legally speaking, he would want to pay all of his streamers in fiat because not everyone's going to be okay with accepting crypto. And even if he is paying in crypto, he has to make gains on that anyway. So again, it comes down to how much you're transacting. But if Z is paying out, 50 grand a month in dividends, then what would have to happen is the crypto needs to get converted into fiat. So let's say he uses my service, for example. He goes, hey, Axe, I need to convert 50 grand. Can you wire that to my bank account? I go, no problem. Here you go. Send me 50 grand in stables. I talk to my broker. I pay my broker their fees. The broker then sends me the fiat into my bank account. And then I legally move the bank account into Z's account as an intermediary broker. And I say, hey, I'm just providing a service because I'm legally allowed to do that for a high net worth individual or a high net worth client, such as Z's company or Z himself. And then Z would say, hey, I just received 50 grand of dividends from streamer Inu, which I'm now going to be paying to our streamers as additional dividends. And then he declares that as an expense that way. So that is the cleanest way to do that. Now, if he doesn't want to use, a broker, he wants to just pop it into a Coinbase account, and Coinbase then puts that into his corporation. That he's legally allowed to do as well. But Coinbase has to report this transaction to the SEC or the local government authority, versus individual brokers like myself, and there's a ton of other people out there doing this already. They don't necessarily have to report every single person because they're not holding the crypto, but Coinbase holds the crypto, Binance holds the crypto, Coinbase is publicly traded. So it's still an area that's so much in the gray that the rules haven't been set yet. But if you do it this way, at least you are protected to some degree, which is the long and short answer.
Well said. So we have a fourth speaker here, Degens. Oh, I think, do you want to add something to it? Or any questions you might have, or ask you maybe?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, DJ's just someone on my team. He said he's got a really popular PFP, and he's like, "Hey, let me put this on, and I'll be a speaker, and maybe someone seeing the PFP it'll appear on their Twitter feed." Unless DJ wants to say something, go ahead, T. Yeah, I don't think
I,
so. I think he's
I,
for a while.
I love your PFP, Degens. I would
It's a
definitely
great
give you a
PFP,
follow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, to wrap it up, any questions which any of us listeners might have here?
And by the way, you guys, if nobody wants to come up and ask a question, you can just go to the bottom right on your screen. There's a small chat box with a comment section for the spaces, so you can write up your question there, and we can just read it up for you if you want to stay anonymous. It's cool.
Yes, echoing what Z just said.
Well, then, if not, then let's talk about quickly, before we wrap up. Z, what's happening in Streamer next? How much should I buy? And yeah, can you please help me retire in next 6 months, please? I think
uh,
I am a, I just need a 2x, Z. I just need a
Goldie,
2x.
dude, Goldie, I really think that me and you could like have something even more than just investing in each other because Donut Pay is about to go live in a week or two, and it's something I think you're going to find very interesting. So, up until this point in crypto, I mean, whoever knows us, we started off as just like MRI, but instead of giving money to fighters, we gave money to streamers. And the way that we did that in Mr. Beast style So we would donate money in crypto. So we would give out zero point 0.1 Ethereum. And that was possible because some streamers out there were using a crypto plugin that was connected to their Coinbase account. You cannot have that crypto plugin without Coinbase. But what we did is that we wanted to change that because after FTX, I'm pretty sure I'd rather people have their money outside of exchanges. So what happened is we spent the past 6 months developing Donut Pay, which is going to be a complete Web3 platform for streamers to go in, sign up, putting their stream key, putting their wallet address. We'll instruct them how to download a wallet, how to sign up. It's completely easy, obviously. And then they put in their wallet address, then they submit, and they take a banner, a link, they put it on their Twitch or YouTube, and then they can start receiving Ethereum or USDC donations only. And the fun thing is, when you donate to them, it appears on their screen as if it was a normal PayPal donation. So they can scream, they can yell, they can have that same effect. They can create content out of it. We can create content off of it. And one streamer will tell the other, because we already saw that last year. So it's going to be phenomenal. There's going to be definitely a lot of analytics to follow, where the donations are coming from, who are the top donors, which streamer is signing up the other one, getting some ambassadors in there. Because at the end of the day, this is beneficial for everybody. Because right now on Twitch and YouTube, if you want to go and do a super chat for your famous streamer, if you want to donate bits or subscriptions on Twitch, those platforms, Twitch and YouTube, take a solid 50, 60, sometimes even 70% of all your revenue as a streamer. And then when you get that 30%, you still have to declare it and pay taxes on it. So you're really ending up with a fraction of whatever you should be making per month. But with crypto, it's completely different because we don't have to fund Twitch, right? So you can get 95% of your donation instead of just 30%. That's number one. And number two, you can get it in crypto and keep it in crypto, right? So you can either uh, invest, keep it as Ethereum, stake it, do whatever the hell you want. So we're doing so many things. We're bridging streamers, millions of streamers into crypto. We are introducing crypto to them in a way that it's like stream to earn in a way, right? You don't have to put your own money. You don't have to, you're already working every single day streaming content. You'll receive crypto as you do. And then what you do with your crypto is up to you. And that way we open up the doors to education, what to do with your crypto. And that way we also open the door for trust. We get all these content creators to trust us to what to do with their money. We become that face, we become that center. I really believe that this is our niche in this degen and crypto market, streamers and content creators. And I mean, I don't have to tell you how much media and attraction streamers as whole get in the world, whether they're American or British or Australian or Chinese or Vietnam or Amsterdam. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're a streamer, you already have a big ass community. And getting Donut
Z,
Pay rolled out like that, it's gonna be fantastic.
I want to be an influencer, Can you please also help me become a streamer and an influencer? I would be really grateful. So, nevertheless, jokes apart, really bullish. Looking forward to your, next venture, or and I would be really happy to, get in touch with you and, yeah, get some early bird, entry to your new venture. X, coming back to you, what's happening on your side? If you can tell a few things about, what is upcoming in your protocol.
Absolutely. So obviously we had a bit of a hiccup with, our service not being directly tied into the project, which I always found to be weird because, there's a million tokens out there being launched with zero utility, and here we have an actual business that we've generated, and we've done close to 60 grand worth of transactions over the last 2 weeks after the utility went live. We're actually going to be launching a second expansionary arm. So 9.5 will always be there, but now the second expansionary arm is going to have the crypto to fiat service directly built into it, in the sense that I'm finding out more and more that more people want to use the service because it's a necessary requirement. But I also realize that there needs to be some sort of technology component tied directly into the token itself. So 9.5 is going to essentially become like a governance token, and it's going to have different financial expansionary arms being built. and then a very small portion of taxes, probably 1 or 2% of taxes, will flow into the 9/5 treasury, which will then be used towards buybacks. But the the longer term goals are, we're hoping to get this second arm launched in the next 4 weeks or so, and it'll also focus on not just being an off ramp, but I spoke with my broker a few days ago, and he gave me the green flag that I can also be an on ramp, and we'll be focusing on, technically speaking, higher net worth individuals, because a lot of exchanges around the world, they put limits on how much money you can bring into crypto. Because I'm under a 10 million market cap revenue cycle, they told me that up to $10 million, they will gladly convert any crypto, any fiat into crypto, as my primary broker. So 9/5 is going to be expanding, and right now we're just a crypto off ramp, but we're going to be a crypto on ramp as well. So anybody wants to move in, 40, 50 grand worth of crypto, 40, 50 grand worth of fiat into crypto, then you can come in, and essentially you'd have to hold a small percentage of the expansion ARM tokens, and then I will help you legally move the money into crypto. And if you want to move the money out, you can do that as well. And then obviously the consulting service with our cap money collection is available, where if anybody just wants to chat with me, and I can help you set up a full structure from top to bottom, regardless of where you are in the world, in terms of setting up a corporation, what legal entities that you have to register with, how to move money in and out safely. So I'm going to be expanding that portion of the business, and essentially keep building that as time progresses. And I'm expecting us to be hopefully be really successful when the bull run happens, when you have BTC and ETH above 40 grand, and ETH above 3-4 grand, and people need to cash this money out. You can think of 9/5 as your go-to safe broker to help move these funds around, with tax advice as well.
Actually,
Impressive.
I just want to say something for you. I don't know how much your reach as a broker is, but I personally also have a broker that we've used for. I mean, I've used it personally before Stream Renew, and I've been using this guy even after Stream Renew, and he has like a global network, like legitimately a global network, and the minimum that he takes is 40 grand, whether you want to on ramp or off ramp. So if there's any time that you need help like expanding outside of the US, anywhere in the world, you can just message me and I can hook you up with the dude. He's not on Telegram, he's on WhatsApp, but still, I mean, I can hook you up.
Yeah, no, that'd be great, man. I definitely want to connect with more people like this. So yeah, this if you can make this introduction afterwards, I'll gladly get on WhatsApp and speak to him as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. The guy does fiat. The guy does bank transfers. I mean, no joke, no joke. I'm telling you, no joke. There was one time we had to pay for something for Stream Renew that was like 100 grand in the U.S. and we just sent it to the I just sent it to the guy as USDT, and he delivered it as cash, like a duffel bag full of money, and even my guy in the US, he's like, "What the fuck is this? This is like a scene from the movie." I'm like, "Bro, it's legit. Seriously, the money's clean. Don't worry about
Wow.
it. It's real money. It's
Well, I
real
mean,
money. You're safe." I just because they also did not want to get it in their bank because they didn't want to pay like 30% tax. So they got it as fiat, and it was a successful transaction. So I trust this guy with my life. So if there's anything you need, no matter what the amount is, let me know.
I mean, really quickly, what kind of fee does he charge, and how quickly did you get the cash? I'm always
It
interested in
de-
the speed of this.
it depends on three things. It depends on the amount, how big it is or how small it is. It depends on the country, and it depends on just the day because every day, the market's open and the price will fluctuate a little bit. So many things. But I mean, for me, I'll tell you from my experience, for 100K, we had to pay, I think, 4% tax for the whole thing to be delivered and cashed out and everything in the US. In Dubai, we had to pay less. But yeah, it just depends on the amount. The bigger the amount is, the less the tax is. The smaller the amount is, the bigger the tax is. It definitely depends on which city as well, not the country, but the city. So if it's in the U.S., which city? If it's in India, which city? If it's in China, which city? That is the ultimate factor.
Got it. Okay, his fee structure is very similar to mine. I charge anywhere from 4 to 6% depending on the amount. So seems like, yeah, there's other people doing this. I definitely can't come to you with a duffel bag of cash, but I can have money wired into your account in under 5 business days. So that's good to
Well, moving money in and out of crypto is a big problem for most of the people out there. And yeah, I
Correct.
think the future is bright. So, before we ramp up, I would quickly give you a brief on what is cooking
Yeah, and
on
what's
our
up?
side at Init and Ticker headquarters. So I don't know if most of you know, we are just trying to make the investment journey simple and intelligent for every retail. Uh, so a new person who comes to crypto has no idea. Truly, I had no idea when I started my journey in DeFi where to start. There's so much information. There are people like us talking on Twitter Spaces. There are influencers shilling random coins. There are thousand coins popping up on chain. Smart money tools like Nansen. Like there's so many of them now. Now Arkham Intelligence. There's insane amount of data. There's Etherscan to follow. Then you have Twitter, Telegram. Then you have private chats. Then you don't understand what is the terminology in this space. So there's so much information for a naive, innocent new retail to process, and that's what I faced. And in the beginning phases, everyone loses money. Most of the people, unless you buy Dogecoin, if a friend tells you and you forget to, you know, sell it, and you become lucky. So having said that, we started with a beautiful purpose to bring all the information together, remove all the noise, present it for you in a very simple analytical view. But this is where the magic starts. We make sure that we give you insights on what to do with this data. If smart money is buying, we decide it for you. We show it to you that we have done all the calculations, analysis of people who make profits. And if they are buying, we give you like, okay, a view, like these are the people who are buying. We are making it transparent for you. If there are influencers or insiders buying, we summarize it for you. If there are influencers speaking about the coin, if the social media activity is increasing, we summarize it for you. So all this convergence, simplification, removing noise is our purpose. Educating people to ensure we have new retail coming, they are profitable, and that's how we win. Because this space will die if we just keep moving money from one hand to another. You know, Goldie selling his coins to Z selling his coin to Goldie, and it's a small, loop. But if we have to win, all of us have to embrace this, beautiful uh, technology, and we have to make retail also win. We have to make sure that it's easy for retail to come and embrace this world of investment. Everyone wants to make money, but it has to be a fair game for everyone. Having said that, in Ticker we have um, one of the most simplified search engines. I call it a search engine because we have merged all the data. Let's say if you go and search for Streamerino and you want to, let's say, search like, okay, what are the coins where um, at least 100K volume happened in last 24 hours, and you just put a filter and you get a list of it. If you want to know what were the coins where at least 5 influencers tweeted about it in last 7 days, you can just come and put a simple filter and you can look at it. And you can also put like safety filters, show me just coins which are safu. All these kind of uh, we help you make your own system. So this was the beginning. This is already live at app app.ticker.ai. The next things which are coming is subscribing to your individual alert services. We are building now an AI because a lot of things, when they happen, they lead to some consequence. So if and what. So because we have so much data we have accumulated in our big data engine, now we have the possibility to generate predictions via our in-house neural network driven machine learning models, where we are going to offer you investment strength score. This is something which we are currently invested in. We are building it, and we have so much data we have gathered over last 1 year that Init and Ticker will become one of the in-house beautiful original, AI service providers, and you will be able to look at what can you expect basis what happened with the coin or a project until then. So that's all I have to say. We are here to embrace this space. We want to make this space equal for all of you, and come join us. And yeah, Come join Dogs Dev group if you are a very passionate developer who wants to help each other and help you know other projects also learn and grow together. We are there together. 97 of us are there already. And if there's anyone who is interested, please reach out to any of us and Dr. Dog, and we are happy to have you there. So that's it from my side. X, Z, any closing remarks, and then we can. And thanks for your time. It was a really, really, really beautiful, let's say, very purposeful, education driven, purposeful chat we had for the developers, for any retail who wants to know how to maybe launch something in future. And thank you for your knowledge.
No, thank you, Goldie. I mean, I think without you and Dr. Dog, me and Axie would have not met. I would have not, met a lot of the developers in that group, and I truly believe that group is precious because, just like you said, the space is filled with people that just want to launch stuff just for tax farm or hype farm and move on with it, not really substantially building anything or doing anything different or unique, other than writing the hype on a certain subject or a topic in the world that happened, or a tweet or an Elon tweet, whatever that may be. This group is probably one of the most important groups in Telegram coming to the next bull market because it merges the best and greatest minds in the DJ space that came from nothing, that came from joining crypto with no knowledge and no guidance, with all of us with the same mission and ethos of changing that for the future traders, for the future developers, and for the future communities to come. Like I said in the beginning, there's no playbook in how to do a successful crypto project or an NFT project. We right now are writing the history on creating stuff without the backing of VCs or without the backing of any outside Web2 organization. We're doing it on ourselves as a community with ideas and innovations. And I hope that this is the first space of many. I hope there's going to be a lot of topics that we discussed. I would highly push for more dev dogs spaces just for the hell of it, even if maybe sometimes there's not a specific topic to talk about, just us joining on spaces and talking about recent trends or recent shit, or just Ethereum and Bitcoin. Because trust me, I, for the past 6 months, have been joining the NFT crowd and the Web3 crowd a lot, and they just open up spaces the majority of the time with really nothing to talk about. They just discuss anything, and that's how really a community and that's how really people are built. And I'm looking forward for so much more knowledge to share, people to meet, and projects to grow. Thank you.
Very well said, Goldie and Zaid, and Z. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for inviting me out up here as well. I think these conversations are absolutely necessary, especially if we're around like-minded individuals that legitimately want to build and create, which we need much more of in the space. I think we should definitely make this a weekly or a bi-weekly thing, and just to open up spaces and talk about so many things we're talked about today that I learned from. I'm sure. I'm hoping anyone listening, whether it's now or even later on, can take some advice away from this conversation, because we do need more credible builders, people that just genuinely want to help grow the space versus create projects and just leave them hanging. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. You guys are both great to talk with. Happy to support all the projects here. Join Dev Dogs. You're not going to be disappointed with the level of talent and intelligent individuals that are there. And yeah, good luck to everybody. I think we're going to have a very good year this year, especially when Q4 hits. I think we're going to start to see some very aggressive green candles as we come across, as we wrap up, a year of what's been a bear market. But, it's good to see that people are still building, still creating, and we are shaping the future of Web3 with each conversation that we have and each community member that gets involved. We're creating the future. So please keep that in mind as you ape into your next altcoin. Thank you so much, guys, and talk to you guys very